and see the game. We are, I'm Julian, and
I'm Yasmin.
And we are two of the people behind Lacuna. We are, more precisely, we are the two founders of Digitas Interactive, and we did most of what the game is in one way or another. So we worked on the story, the game design, the music, and the code, but we did not do the art because we can't do that. Other than that, let me just check if we're actually live everywhere. I'm gonna just switch into my own Twitch overlay thing for just a moment. That's my personal Twitch, just to see if we're actually live on Steam here and on everything that we should be live. Also, just change the setting here real quick, and then we'll be at your disposal for an hour. Okay, the stream is featured on the Big Adventure event, which is part of why we're here. The Big Adventure event features the stream. Oh, there we go, 14 viewers on Steam. Let me pop out the chat, see if anybody has any questions. Maybe put we are also live on Twitch, so Cuna's an amazing game, great work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're number one hype person on Twitter too. All right, so I'm just gonna leave those two chats up there and then jump back into the game, and then you guys can ask us anything. There we go. Meanwhile, I'll just play the game for a bit. This is early on, so there's no big spoilers here, and this is part of the free prologue, which you can play on Steam or GOG. And just check the game out for yourself. It's about the first half hour of the game that's available for free under the name of Lacuna Prologue. So yeah. I don't know, this is awkward. We didn't prepare anything really. We just wanted to hang out. Hey guys, hey. Hey, how's it going? So yeah, we didn't come prepared, but that's because I think it's more fun to just have a chat naturally. Among ourselves and also with you guys. So yeah, this is one of the staples of Lacuna. You gotta make timed decisions. This one isn't that impactful yet. It is a little impactful. A lot of things you do in Lacuna are tracked like secretly by the game and may or may not, result in smaller branching stuff down the line. But this is one of the smaller. I'm just gonna spam through this because we're not really reading this stuff on stream. It doesn't really lend itself to that, so I'll just have this on a sort of a background.
As I started walking home,
thing.
I
I hope Buzz doesn't
not for failing to show my
interfere with
daughter
us too
how
much.
much
This is our excellent English language voice actor Buzz Blackburn.
she would have deserved. At least that's what I
Say
thought.
on Twitter and on TikTok that he's the voice of the new Batman toy, and I feel like Neil, like it's so funny. You push a Batman toy and you hear Neil's voice, and it's also very similar. It has this dark timbre. It's like, I'm Batman. I'm Neil Conrad. Would you
It
like
was also really weird when we first called with Buzz and talked to him. And for the first monologues, we just sent him the text via mail, and he sent us the recording, so we didn't actually talk to him.
Yeah.
And then we had a call with him later when he made the other recordings for the game. And at that point,
It was like talking to our main character.
His voice really was Neil for us, so it was super weird.
Yeah, that was a little strange. All right, would you all expand the world of Lacuna, maybe a possible sequel or even a spin-off game? I think that the franchise. So a couple things. We don't rule it out, but I can't confirm or deny anything. The next thing we're working on is still very secret, but and there's so much lore and backstory that's not like that exists but isn't in the game. And I think the problem with Lacuna is that we really want to make the ending count and make your ending count. And since there are so many different ones, we don't just want to do a sequel that rolls back what happened to you. And it's like, okay, this is this one ending out of the 8 ones or many more that you can get. is the canonical one, and that's how we continue Neil's story. I don't think that would work. But I think the world of Lacuna is a cool place, but it has the caveat that it would have to be with our current publisher, Assemble Entertainment, which is, of course, a great publisher, but they'd have to be willing to put the money in, essentially, and it isn't up to us. We don't own the IP. That's our publisher's IP. Oh yeah, you'll see that the reflections act a little strange. Like, you can see that I'm in front of her in relation to the camera, but when she walks past me, I'm also in front of her in relation to the wall, because the trick isn't perfect. It's all wrong. It's all trickery. But yeah, I think it would lend itself more to something that's not directly connected to the same story, or maybe even characters. It's more of a place that I would like to explore more, rather than, you know, I think the story is fairly self-contained as it is now.
I looked at my reflection in the glass.
Even though there are some things and places that go on at the same time that you don't really see a lot of. There's a whole like political intrigue on one of the other planets that takes place in parallel to this, and we know that there are different like Drovian political parties that fight amongst each other for power in case of like an uprising, and they make like this unlikely alliance between different non-mainstream parties, and plan to stab each other in the back the moment they sort of overthrow the status quo. And we wrote all that, and it's not even ever mentioned in the game.
Yeah.
It never comes up.
True.
So maybe it could
That's
take place
awesome.
in parallel.
Because we made, at the beginning when we started writing Lacuna's story, it was much more complex.
Yeah.
And then we realized that it was kind of too complex.
Yeah.
Because the game isn't that long and the players have to understand everything of the backstory to solve the cases.
Yeah.
And yeah, then we took. There's quite a lot of backdrop.
Yeah. That we just never utilized.
Yeah.
There were more twists and turns, and more like, I don't want to spoil it, but like one of the major, like two of the major parties that work against each other in the story, in the end there would be a twist that they were actually collaborating with one another in a way, and we took that out too. It had too many like double layers, and we cut down a lot of complexity fairly late in development.
Yeah.
Soundtrack of the game is beautiful. Thank you very much. Was there any inspiration behind the music? I don't know. Not really. Most of the melodies I come up with by... let me just show you real quick. So I have this piano here, and this keyboard here, and that's where most of it originated. And I just improvise on the piano for a while. I record it, and then I go over the recording again, and then I just pick out melodies that I liked, and I like store them in sort of a small database of wave files, and then just compose stuff around them. I just go through them when I look for a new piece, and then I see if there's a good melody in there for that piece that I'm trying to write here. And if so, I'll pick it out and I'll arrange it. And yeah, that's my process. There's not like, is there particular music? Like some of the tracks are synthwave inspired. I'm a big fan of like some synthwave artists, especially like dark wave and the heavier stuff. But the chill out stuff, I listen to a lot of down tempo and like chill music while working. I had years of jazz piano lessons, so I think that's in there too.
I think for the action music we also listen to Mr. Robot a bit.
Oh yeah, Mr. Robot's a bit, but I can't touch McQuaid. That's like so much better than anything in Lacuna. But hey, Mr. Robot's a great soundtrack. But yeah, so a bunch of inspirations. I also liked when we started this game, which was like a million years ago. Listened to a lot of what's its face. Hold on. I need a 9264, right? I haven't played this bit in a while. I listened to a lot of like Portishead and Massive Attack, and so like you have these mellow beats that are in there. I don't know, a bunch of mixed stuff. I think that's how it came out so different and a bit unique, because I just put in there what I liked. I used to write music for other games for like 5 years, and then I could just do whatever I wanted with this one. That was really, really cool.
Yeah, we actually started working on the game in 2015,
yeah.
I think. But we actually didn't. We studied literature.
Yeah.
So we didn't know how to code or how to do art or anything.
Yep.
And yeah, we were really kind of self-taught, so it took quite a while until we had a prototype.
Yep, indeed. I'm just trying to see if there's 3 chats we need to track. Can I put these all? Yes. Perfect. Some people are like, why can't I do more with Horace than one thing in one session? And that's because we streamlined the game in such a way that we were like, the game is all about decisions. So you can do one thing when you see Horace. Oh, I don't have any cigarettes. I didn't buy them, so I can't smoke here now. So yeah, that was the reasoning behind that. You can do one thing per apartment visit. So we saw that lots of people got the achievement where they fed Horace every time they saw him. And I think that's because they were paranoid he might starve if they didn't feed him. And so loads of people have the Chonky Boy achievement where he ate every time he could. And almost nobody has the one where the Happy Boy, where they pet him every time. Oh yeah, I have this follow me on Twitch thing on. You can follow Assemble Entertainment on Twitch. We're also live on their channel. If you're watching this on Steam, we are also live on Twitch right now, Twitch TV/Assemble Entertainment, our wonderful publisher.
Maybe Gary had gone crazy.
The funny thing, we have lots of people watching, but nobody's writing anything. We'll just babble on. Babylon?
This whole visit was meant to ease tensions between our planets. Now it could lead to war. The first interplanetary war. Fuck, he'll snap out of it. He'll figure this out. Focus on the task ahead.
Horace needs a spin-off game.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love Horace. He's the best feature in the game, actually.
Yeah, and he also came late in development too. Horace wasn't a thing until a few months before release. Yeah. Like a couple of weeks before release, I think. Amazing piano skills. I love him so. Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually a pretty bad pianist, like compared to people who do it for a living. But that's why you become a composer. You know, you can fix it in post and just edit it in a DAW, and it's more about the creative ideas than like being a good instrumentalist. But it's good that like this bass line here, I improvised that, and it's nice that I can play well enough to improvise some cool stuff and put that together. I think that's like the bass line you should be able to do as a composer. We out here, don't worry, just focus on the game. All right. Oh, thanks for the...
But it's good to know, that you can write and...
Yeah, and it's also in both chats.
Yeah, nice.
That's nice. Yeah, Horace. Yeah, Neil had a radio in his apartment, and you could like turn on the radio and listen to radio reports and music. And we scrapped that pretty late because more scenes than we anticipated would take place in his apartment that were like story relevant and sometimes like intense or emotional scenes, and it would always clash with the music that was playing from the game. So that didn't work at all, and we cut out the radio completely. We actually had more radios. We had one in the hotel too. They all went out the window, and we put in Horace instead. And we're like, iconic thing that's not really too like I don't think there are many lizard pets in games. And like it makes Neil a little more personal, but also tells something about Neil, because he's like too standoffish to have a dog or anything that's really, you know.
Really needs emotional commitment.
Yeah, Neil's like the guy who emotionally commits just enough for a lizard.
Yeah.
And so we thought that would fit with his personality too. And also we wanted the clout from the Can You Pet the Dog Twitter account. They actually acknowledged us. They liked the tweet and they featured us in their Can You Pet the Dog Steam curator. So it now says you can pet the lizard in Lacuna, recommended. Or no, I think it's informational.
Informational.
Yeah, very good curator.
Yeah, so that's the first case with Neil that you have to solve. There's also a prologue where you learn the investigation mechanic, but that's kind of a bit separate from. Now there's an important guy, the foreign minister of another planet who got shot.
Yeah.
And you have to find out. You'll see where the shot came from, basically.
Yeah, and this is all within the first hour, so don't worry about having spoilers. Like the heavier spoiler stuff is like in the final third, I would say, or maybe up like from the middle on. So this is all very early stuff. Does Mirror surviving the prologue have any effect later on? The prologue was sort of a safe haven for players to make mistakes and realize that if they fuck up, it can have serious consequences. So we, apart from her dying, which is in itself a pretty heavy consequence, it doesn't impact the investigations later negatively. Like if you mess up this case, there is a disadvantage, a small one, because this is still early and we go easier on you in the beginning of the game. But the prologue level was sort of like, okay, you see your character died and the game went on. We just wanted to establish the principle of it. But you probably wanted to say there's one difference. In the first scene that we just saw, there's a news article that you can read that has an interview in it. And if she survived, it's her who gets interviewed. And you can learn about her story after the event, that like, what happened to her later. And if she didn't survive, it's her mom who gets interviewed and who tells like a reporter about having lost her daughter in the incident. So that's the only difference. So you can see, oh yeah, this did actually happen, and the game remembers it.
Yeah.
What kind of monster would let her die though? I bet lots of players restarted there. That might be true. I did that in Undertale. Undertale is this very clever thing where if you accidentally kill this one character, I don't want to spoil it, you reload the game, and then one of the characters in the game is like, oh, I saw you killed her, and you reload it, and you see exactly what you're doing. That's awesome. That was such a good moment. The thing is, Mira dies like 5 seconds before the save point. So if you want to restart, you have to play the entire thing again.
No, there's a save point in the middle.
Yeah, but your save is locked in at the latest one.
But I think you can restart in the middle of the prologue.
No, if you super quickly hit escape, because you instantly under, then you can go back. But yeah.
You have to restart immediately.
Yeah. You can like quick tip, if you're super dissatisfied with your decision right away, you can just go back to the main menu and replay the last couple of minutes, because it only like saves after a level. Undertale has no shame in calling players out. Yeah, that was an awesome little trick that they pulled there.
Maybe that's also an interesting thing. You have the highlight mode in Lacuna, and it's kind of, you can use it if you don't like looking for clues and spending too much time searching evidence. If you want the hard mode, you can just turn it off, and then you have to find everything by yourself. So yeah, that's a possibility, because some people say it's too easy, but if you want it to be harder, you could just turn off the highlight mode. Yeah,
this is a little hidden difficulty setting essentially, and also a matter of taste. Like, I hate pixel hunting and like walking around the place and looking for that one clue I haven't found yet. I don't think that's a fun type of challenge. So we wanted to cut that out for people who also don't like it. And yeah, you can see that, you know, this guy doesn't have a dialogue from me. His outline is very weak, so he just says this. But if I were to go and talk to this guy with his red outline, he would like have a longer the dialogue from me. Even the reload is sort of like a time machine that the NPCs are aware of. In Undertale, yeah, absolutely. The character Gary was interesting. It would be awesome to give a love option for him just to think up with the wife law. But great character choices. Yeah, Gary is somebody. We didn't make him a love interest, but
it would be cool. Actually.
It would be fun. Nah, that would complicate things. He's a guy that I think I would hate him if I knew him in real life. Like I love the character, but he's a guy I love to hate.
Well, I'm glad you say that he's interesting because most people actually hate him.
Yeah,
he's not very popular.
No, because he's like this hard-headed nationalist type, and he's a bit of a contrast to Neil, who's like more prudent about things and a little smarter than him. But
yeah,
Gary is his superior, and that's because he's like this hard ass.
But he also has some, I don't know, sometimes he thinks about things again, and I don't know, he's not that one-dimensional. No,
he's...
as it appears.
But he definitely contrasts Neil in a way, in that Neil has like these doubts and is like this introspective guy with the monologues, and Gary's more of a shout first, ask questions later kind of guy. No. Gary's very hot-headed and... I think the puzzle aspects of the investigations are one of the most successful parts of Lacuna, like this bit with find the correct building. You're pretty sure you have it right, but there's room for doubt too. Yeah, thank you. I think we, at one point, we conceded to the fact that we would have to make things a little ambiguous all the time. Like there's always the least implausible option, so you go with that. For instance, like in this puzzle, the casino maybe could also be, but then there was this event and then it's not really on the right side, so it's like it's not like bulletproof, waterproof, like deductive reasoning where you have like a logical matrix, and if you have it, you there's no doubt. It's oftentimes like a gut decision is in there to an extent, and I think it feels more like a detective kind of process, you know?
Well, it's also funny that people do play the investigations pretty differently.
Yeah, some really, people don't play them.
Yeah, no, they just go with their intuition. I don't know. And that's cool too, I think. And we try to have options to account for that, so that you can have a pretty good idea if you trust your intuition a little bit. But you can also really try to solve the puzzles with logical deductions. That works as well. Yeah,
it's funny. Some players are like, I like the game. I got this and that ending. Playtime 4 hours, and we're like, I don't even beat this game in 4 hours. What? And then there's other people who are like, I might start a second playthrough 26 hours. We're like, what the hell were you doing? And what? So you can tell how different, like how much time. Some people are like, I never sprint in the game because it ruins the mood. So we actually considered having indoors walking only. So you can't sprint in buildings. But then it's kind of a bummer. If you want to sprint, you can still not walk if you don't want to sprint. So
it's a game about choices, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I have the choice to sprint. It also kind of sucks for like people who want to replay the game, especially with this punishing save system. You don't want to make them walk too. I think that makes it even worse. These small choices where you're like more of a like confrontational or try to calm things down. There are a couple of these in there too, and sometimes they don't immediately lead to anything, but like for this interaction, the press is gonna write about this interaction later, and there's like at least 4 different news articles you can get.
Yeah, 4 different.
4 ones?
I think
it's 2 by 2 variables.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's about whether you are confrontational with the guy or not, and whether you told Gary that you want to like lock them up for obstructing your investigation. And the combination of these two decisions decides over which news article you get about it later from the press. So it's not exactly something that branches the story, but it does make it feel more impactful. I don't sprint when the mood's right, not right either, but I do sprint sometimes. Can make the game more forgiving for second runs. Yeah, we kind of messed up, honestly, but because it's not the same to say like we want this system that always saves, right? Oh, you can see the bullet here. Anyway, we want the system that always saves. That's fine because it's like it locks in your choices, so they're final. But that's not exactly the same as some other design decisions that we've unfortunately also made, like spacing out the save points, and you sometimes have to you have to go and it saved like 10 minutes ago. That sucks. Or the fact that somebody who already beat the game and got their unique ending can't just do like a chapter select. We absolutely see how that would be beneficial, but the way we set up the save system is really bad for that. So we'd have to like revamp it almost completely, and that is a lot of time, and we're not even sure if it would work out. So we agree. We did, to be fair, we did not think people would play the game multiple times.
Yeah, we didn't think it was interesting enough, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super cool. We just, I don't know. We were like, hey, we're so happy if people play the game once.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it does branch, and you get different endings, and some scenes are different, or you skip some scenes, or you have like a different relationship with a character or two. But ultimately, it is the same story every run through, even though it can end in a quite a few different ways. So we were like, okay, if you take 6 hours to beat the game the second run, and then 5 hours are the same again, how interesting is that going to be? So maybe some people are going to play it twice. And like a couple days after the console release the other day, we had people be like, I think I have all the 8 endings, why didn't I get the achievement? It's bugged, it's currently bugged, we're going to fix it, where you get all the endings. And on the first day of the PC release, we had people being like, oh, on my second playthrough, I did all the cases wrong on purpose. I wanted to see what happened. We were like, what do you mean on your second playthrough? It just came out.
So cool.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Park's obscene size. The night was cool, and the mansion district.
Save that thought for part 2 of the game. We definitely learned our lesson. Like even if it's not necessarily like a sequel to Lacuna or anything, in terms of the save system, we're gonna have some improvements in store if everything pans out.
To my surprise, I noticed that.
So I always want to add something like if everything pans out, because you say something and then a couple of years later your game comes out and it changed, everything about it changed, and people are like, in this one interview in 2022 you said this on a small live stream during the big adventure event, and I want my money back. That's what happened to No Man's Sky, I think. People go some crazy lengths for these achievements, for sure. Yeah, it's insane. We didn't have achievements when the game came out on day one, because we're like, I mean, the game's finished, so it seems like a nice little add-on. And people were like coming at us in a massive thread on the Steam forum, be like, where's achievements? Such basics, what the hell? And we're like, okay, fine. And then like a week later, we patched them in.
Yeah, we have a question on Twitch. Choosing a main protagonist can be challenged by the other choices before making Neil the final decision. Actually, I don't think so.
We did actually for a while consider changing the perspective partway through the game.
Oh yeah, to one of the,
from one of the antagonists. Yeah.
Those of you who played the game may know.
There's a prominent female antagonist that we thought you could play like once or twice throughout the game, and we cut that because it didn't make sense, because then you would know things as the player that Neil wouldn't know, and it would feel strange to like share knowledge of multiple characters. We really ended up wanting to be immersed in this one character after the very first level, and then we cut the parts where you play her.
Yeah. I think we had Neil pretty early, and also, you know, his inner conflict, his nihilism, and all that. That was pretty clear from the start, I think.
Yeah.
But the rest is something that we really worked on a lot, like his family, his ex-wife, his daughter. That's stuff we added in later.
Yeah, we didn't technically switch the character. We didn't do a different character, but we did change Neil so much that he might as well be a different character now. Certainly hope that we haven't seen the last from Digitales. Yeah, so do we. We're just finishing up a prototype for a new thing. We're hoping this year, next year, fingers crossed. There is something in the works. To be fair, they redeemed themselves. Hello Games. Oh yeah, for sure. No Man's Sky, amazing. Like the Ungooding of No Man's Sky, one of my favorite YouTube videos ever. By Internet Historian. He like retells the story a little bit, and you understand better what happened and why it went so wrong, and how it went really well later. Antagonist remind me of the connection between Batman and Catwoman. Yeah, there's not necessarily as much spark, but yeah, they do kind of like each other.
That's actually something we thought of as well.
Yeah, we thought maybe there's a romance option there, and then we also cut that. We wanted to streamline the story, and that would have sort of muddied up things and made like probably been a variable that would have. For every variable you add to the ending of the game, you multiply all existing endings by 2. If it's a variable that's like a boolean, that's like true or false, right?
And the third act of the game, it's pretty short, but there you really have a lot of branching content.
Yeah.
And it was insanely complicated to implement it and to just keep track of all the threads and loose ends that we had and make sure that everything works together.
It was so frustrating. I always forgot everything. I was like, oh, is this guy in bed with this faction now? And that this was before we cut a lot of stuff too, because I could not retain the story that we wrote for like 5 years, and then I was like, how is anybody gonna understand this mess in 6 hours? So we learned our lesson there. And
hi Scotty.
Hey.
Hi to Scotty.
Yeah. This conversation is so relatable. You mean not understanding things, cutting things?
I mean, even after we cut a lot of stuff, it was still super complicated
to implement it all. Yeah.
To keep track of what Neil definitely knows and what he doesn't know, if the players did something wrong or differently.
Yeah, there is, for instance, you can like catch this one guy,
or not,
or you can't catch him, or you can find out everything, and talk to him and let him go. Yeah. And so we couldn't just like, there's this long final monologue that's like 8 pieces. And if you multiply them all with one another, there's like over 500 versions of this. And of course, between most of them, there's like only small change. But sometimes we'd have to like cut one sentence out because Neil couldn't know this bit, even though he achieved that, or the other way around. And so there was so much debugging and thinking twice about everything and having to add variables to distinguish between different runs. It was really difficult.
Oh yeah, adding one thing to your code multiplies the complexity of everything else. Oh yeah, that also was a big problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just added one feature to, I don't know, the camera or something like that, and then weeks after we realized that it broke something.
Oh yeah.
That we didn't think of.
Systems that break each other. You add something new, everything's... Oh, by the way, there was a game-breaking bug in this dialogue months after release that nobody found. Really? If you spam through the dialogue, it's fixed now. If you spam through this bit of dialogue, you get stuck. You can't go away after the dialogue anymore. Oh, and I think this was only in... No, it was all languages.
Oh, really?
This wasn't even a localization thing. I just messed up. I'll just bring this down a little bit.
Yeah, well, it was our first game, so...
Yeah, we had a few localization related issues that aren't gonna come up in the next game. We had one like blocker in the game for Chinese players. If they those were always kind of hidden. You had to do something special to find them, which is why QA missed them and why we missed them. But ultimately, if you like spammed through some dialogues, there were like missing commands because those commands are written in the text. So every translator has to add them in the same places where they were in the original game, in the original text. And we can't just test 8 languages. I think it launched in like 7 and then we added more or something like that. And so that was super hard to track down. And that's one of the things that we're just not doing anymore.
Yeah.
None of the commands are localization dependent anymore.
We learned a lot.
I bought on day 1, did not hit that bug. Yeah, because you always have to do something that that triggers it. Like you have to, usually it's like spamming through the dialogue super hard. And also setting it to text appears immediately. Because that buys you some milliseconds too. It's probably something that speedrunners do. So you don't have to watch the text scroll and press every time so it's finished scrolling. And that way you could break some of the dialogues and then Neil would just stand there and go away. That was like our main bug that we had in some places.
Yeah.
But I think we found them. No, I'm almost 100% that we found them all. We haven't had reports in months, and also we built a tool specifically for finding them, and we used that on all localizations. Big fun. I had to like pick out, try to understand where this place was in Malaysian. I was like, probably you have to wait after this word. Yeah. We thought the game was done, but yeah, I think every time we had like one of those bugs, we came aware of it. We were super quick to patch it. But I'm kind of glad that we didn't do a simultaneous release on consoles.
Yeah.
Because they would have shipped with these issues on all consoles, and Nintendo takes like I think 3 weeks to push your update out. It's like you fixed it. And then for 3 more weeks, it just lies on some server before they push it out, and players keep reporting it. And you like, if we fixed it, Nintendo doesn't update the game. Sorry. So that was a good thing, at least for our first game, to spread that out and focus on PC first. But we always designed it with controller in mind. We even cut some things and the way things were like controlled on PC with the fact in mind that it would have to work on controller only. We wanted to provide full controller support from the get-go, and then it was much easier to bring it to consoles.
Was the game illustrated by just one pixel artist? Well, the first 2 levels, I think. So this one and the first one in Neil's Quarter, they were done by freelance pixel artists.
Yeah, not the first in terms of the sequence in the game.
No.
The first two that existed was Hotel and Neil's Quarter. Yeah. They were done by other people.
Yeah, we were working on a prototype, and it was just Julian and me who were working on the game, and we are shit artists, so we had to pay someone. That was before we founded the company. It was just Julian and I and our private money. Yeah,
we sank like 18,000 euros in the prototype before our company even existed. So we put a lot of money, like private money, into it.
Yeah, so that was done by several pixel artists, but basically nearly all the rest of the game was done by just one guy. Yeah. The character portraits were also done by freelance pixel artists, and the cutscene pixel art. So
yeah, we have separate artists for. Yeah, we have Michael, our in-house artist. He does like almost all the art you see. Neil was actually created by Martin, who was also the one who made Neil's Quarter, or most of it. He was like a freelancer, a good friend of ours. He did most of the Kingdom games, actually. He did art direction on Kingdom, Two Crowns, and all the other Kingdom stuff. And then we had Martina for the portraits. She does a lot of, I think also portraits, but also like foliage and stuff for Crosscode, like for Radical Fish games. She still works with them and with us. And then we have Vailart, who is like a Russian pixel artist. I don't know what else he did, but he's really, really good. We really loved his art, and we approached him specifically about doing all the cutscene, the big like animations for us. Yeah, sometimes when you smoke.
Yeah, the pixel art in the end, in the epilogue. So that's him. The
detailed artworks, that's his, yeah. Quite a pedigree in the team, yeah. Like, we only have 4 people in-house, and we work with a bunch of freelancers. Like, especially our tech art, for instance, all the like the lighting stuff, all the cool maps on the characters that make it look more realistic and stuff. That was all, like, all the particles, anything that, like, you know, or like the aquarium. You can see this wobbly aquarium here. That was all done by one guy. He's a tech artist and VFX artist at Mimimi Games. They made Desperados 3 and Shadow Tactics, and he's an old friend of ours. We actually know him. We've known him for years before he joined them, and he does this on the weekends for us, and does his full-time job at Mimimi during the week. He's insane.
In our company is only 4 people.
Yeah.
Julian does the music and CEO stuff.
Yeah. I'm I do everything, like, you know.
Content, you implement a lot of content, a bit of programming, and we did the story and the game design together. And I do all the UI, so the programming for the UI, that's me. The dialogues, the cell.
Oh, there's a Leia emoji.
Yeah, nice. Michael does the art, and then we have one guy who does the rest of the code.
Yeah, we like Benedict is our lead programmer, and he did pretty much the entire backend. He did the save system, the localization system, the camera system, the movement system, the system which we use to implement our content. So all the underlying systems were made by him, by this one guy.
Except the UI.
Except the UI, which is your and the dialogue logic.
Yes.
Because she wrote like the editor for all the dialogues and stuff. Fun fact: this music, I'm just gonna turn it up a little. That's one of the I told you guys about how I like improvise on the piano and then extract the melodies. This is one of the sessions that I recorded, and I just put it in there. I was like, have the pianist play what I played, because it was like easy. And it's also a fun Easter egg if you know that this is me improvising, and this is like part of where some of the melodies from the actual soundtrack come from. You can hear some of the ideas maybe that I later put into songs in this improvisation. So I'm just gonna turn this down again.
Are we still live? Because this
yeah, it's buffering, but the
yeah.
upload is fine.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I think we're good. Let me just reload Twitch. That's kind of strange. The fact that Twitch is also loading. Oh, there we go. See?
Oh yeah.
It's all good.
Cool.
It's all good.
Okay.
So the Steam player is just garbage. That's the whole issue we're having here. The Steam player is just so bad.
But our internet connection is also quite spotty sometimes, so
yeah.
I'm always paranoid.
Yeah, if we're just gone, then it'll be like 10 minutes till we can come back. Stream quality is fine for me. You know, a Steam video is usually hit or miss. Exactly right. Yeah, it's usually miss. Yeah, so that's probably okay. This is this level right here is a bit of a difficulty spike, I think. It's like one of the more complex cases you have, and it's pretty early on in the game. So this is when it kind of ramps up, and you gotta talk to a bunch of people and retain a bunch of information and go over the timeline again and reread the dialogues. And some players are just like, and that's what we wanted to make possible too. Some players are just like, I think it's that guy, and just submit the sheet, and you know, because they want to go on with the story, and it's fine too. And then maybe they messed up, but you know, if that's, you put in the amount of work you think you want to put in.
Where did the title Lacuna come from? Yeah, that was a long process.
Yeah.
Finding a title, and it has several meanings. It's about Neil's conflict, because as I said, he's like kind of a nihilist, and he has this lacuna in his life.
Lacuna is sort of a word for gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so it's he doesn't know what the sense of his life is. So that's kind of one meaning of the title.
Also, there's like this like thing that he discusses with the female antagonist, and they're like both nihilists in a way, but very different like flavors, and it's a bit about their like nihilism and philosophy.
But it's also quite literally an allusion to the main mechanic, because you have to solve the gaps in the case sheets. So
you have these closed texts, and there are lacuna, there are little gaps in there, and you have to fill them. So it makes sense that you have to fill in the gaps, mind the gap. By the way, this music track I did not write. It uses one of the themes that I wrote, but it's a guest track from a friend of mine. Let's turn that up. This is Filippo Backpackers. He made music for a bunch of games, but among others, Desperados 3, and he's an old friend, and he volunteered to have a track of his put in there. That's also one of the two tracks. The other one was made by Flora. She's with Radical Fish Games. She's a sound designer and technical artist, and also composer and pretty much everything. And she also did a music track, that one you can hear in the restaurant with Mrs. I'm not gonna say the name, with the woman of the husband. Okay, I'm such a perfectionist, I could never just go on a hunch. Yeah, it's a player type thing, right?
Same, I'm also kind of perfectionist.
Should new players get Neil to quit smoking, or should they let him have his crutch during a stressful time? Yeah, maybe you can be like, oh, he has so much on his plate already, he can quit smoking later. I'll just turn down the music again. I think it's up to you, right? It's all about choices. We do say that smoking isn't as harmful anymore in this world, so maybe it's okay. But also he wants to maybe quit.
But you don't get the cutscene, or some of the cutscenes, if you don't smoke.
Yeah.
And that's because we wanted that it also has a consequence for you as a player if you don't smoke. Because I think otherwise most people were like, oh no, he should stop smoking, and no one would smoke.
Yeah.
So then it's not an interesting choice, because not smoking is better.
Yeah, you have to give something up for it.
So we want you that you have to give something up if you want him to quit.
Yeah. It's up to you. There's not a lot to this. I think I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to talk too much about consequences. This is sort of a lengthy. I also think it's a bit of a dip in the pacing. I would prefer it to be a little shorter, but you just have to talk to a lot of people and find out a lot of stuff. So we didn't make it as short as it could be, maybe, but it's already cut down a lot. By the way, we redesigned this level like 500 times.
Yeah.
This is completely different. The puzzle, the what happened there, the things that you have to find out. There was like a love affair in there, and like a smuggling ring, and so much stuff. And yeah, we landed on this puzzle after so many tests and iterations. I'm just gonna submit something here. Don't want to spoil any solutions.
Yeah, because we wanted it to be, logical and believable, and it was super hard to find a logical solution.
Yeah.
How the perp got away and how you can track him. So that was really difficult.
We always try to think from the perspective of the characters, and you know, he would try to do his absolute best to not get caught, and there has to be some dumb little thing that happens that gives you a lead and puts you on his trail. So we tried really hard to come up with a perfect plan and a dumb coincidence that would make it go wrong, and that was really tough. Choices in video games are fun, like Detroit Become Human. It was cool to see the aftermath of your choices. Yeah, I think that's what, you know, that's what makes games so unique. Yeah. That's really one of the best parts of video games altogether. There are different types of choices. There are games with like many micro choices that are like less linear than this. But I also like the type of choices you have in Detroit or in the Telltale series that are very pronounced and presented as meaningful choices.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello there. General Kenobi. Oh, I like to talk about this lady here. I don't know if you saw, like, once or twice we posted about her. Her name is Scrap Metal Granny, and she sometimes blocks your path when you're trying to go somewhere, because this area of the map is gonna become relevant later, but we wanted to put something temporary here that's sort of at least a little fun to look at. And she will sometimes send you away. I think she occurs 3 times in the game. And she's inspired by a real person, like a real grandma. There's this documentary about a place called Kowloon Walled City, which was like the most densely populated, most dystopian city, completely lawless spot of land in what today is Hong Kong. There's a park there now. It was completely torn down in the 90s, but it was like one documentary of like a German documentary crew who would go and interview people. And
usually it was quite difficult to get in there because it was really like a lawless zone.
Yeah, it was run by the mob, and was like dangerous to go in there because it wasn't Chinese jurisdiction, it wasn't British Hong Kong jurisdiction, it was just no man's land, and was like a bunch of skyscrapers that like grew together with like boards, and everything was improvised completely, and like they had like a postman who knew every person there with like 40,000 people because there were no actual addresses, and it was absolutely insanity. And then there was this one lady who like occurs once. She has like this massive piece of metal that she's like pulling out of some wires to sell it for scraps, and like she like makes a living in the city just getting scrap metal.
Yeah, but I mean, the scrap metal was still part of the building or the wall.
Yeah, it was just coming out of a wall somewhere.
She was just tearing it out.
And this is tiny old woman, and she has this massive piece of metal that she just like, this is awesome. Yeah, it's just awesome. We liked her like it's like this contrast of like the human spirit, right? She's like doing anything to get by, and the tragic of the situation of this old woman having to do like the actual hard work in order to survive. So we thought it was a good fit for this like dystopian, not really dystopian, but this the setting of Lacuna.
Grindel is the classic nosy neighbor, yeah.
Oh yeah, she's we made this this music track for her. So.
I really like her. She's one of my favorite characters. She's so funny.
Yeah.
I really like her walking animation as well. It's pretty funny too.
Yeah, it's awesome. She's one of the characters we put a lot of world building into. We don't really build the world a lot by telling you things about the world, but she's, you know, like it says a little bit about society, the way she talks and what she tells you, and she's like, you know, I'm one of the rich folk from the upper layers, and then the police are like, dude, you lived here for 12 years, and she like fell on hard times when her husband died because he was the breadwinner, and now she still has this class think, and she considers herself like upper class and like hates everyone around her. But she's lived there for over a decade, so yeah, that's sort of how we sneak in world building just through the dialogues with some of the characters. Also, I think it's way more interesting to give them like. We really tried to give characters personalities, even though you only meet them once, because if they like are information ATMs, you know, they're like, oh, I saw this guy, maybe you should go this way. It's like the worst case scenario. And it's unfortunately still something that you see sometimes, where characters are just like there for the player, but we wanted them to be like independent entities with their own story.
Everyone knows someone like her. Oh yeah, she might be inspired by real life.
Oh yeah, we live on the countryside in the middle of nowhere, and we have this bar across the street, and every time we like enter the car, there's like at least one old person watching us from some window, some bald middle-aged guy with a beer at like 10 in the morning in the bar across the street. And like everybody just stares at us the whole time, so that's just comes with the territory of living in the countryside.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh yeah, this was a bit of a bitch, that getting this puzzle right. We had to push the players on this stupid thing behind Neil there, because it's not precisely what people thought they'd have to do, and now like Miss Grindle tells you, Gary tells you again, and Gary like now won't even let you go. Hold on, he's just like, did you have look at the front? He like doesn't let you go because people wouldn't get what they needed to do, and we're like, okay, just have him stand in the way. That's why playtesting is so important. I think if we'd released this with the first version of this puzzle, people would have hated it even more. It was a tricky puzzle.
Yeah, it's
still tricky.
Difficult, yeah.
We also watch a lot of streamers, and if you know where to go, you'll notice that they do the same thing like 20 times before they get the idea of going the third direction out of all available directions. It's infuriating.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's just the design still isn't perfect.
No, it's just the thing is like we didn't want all the puzzles to be like who was where when and all this kind of stuff. So this way we're like, okay, maybe we want to do this like one maze-like level where you have to find your way and do like a different type of puzzle where you have to do a different type of deduction and thinking for once, just to mix it up a little bit, because this is in the middle of a couple puzzles who are more similar to one another. And so we thought maybe this would be a good idea. And I think it still works. Some people hate it, but I think it's a good like break of pace. And even like things that kind of objectively suck, but just to do something different for a bit, are oftentimes just there to make the rest better. Like in this sounds like an excuse, but it's actually the case. Like the first BioShock had this dumbass hacking puzzle where you'd have to, if you open a door, you have this water coming through the pipes, and you have to like put the pipes in the right order to connect the two endings. It was like completely not fun. It was just, I don't know, but it was different from running and shooting, and so it would like pace it a little bit, and it would just work in the context of the game. I don't think I would have ever played it by itself. We could just brute force if you know patience. Yeah, there was one more thing that we wanted to do. We actually considered having people like come out the door. If you start like knocking on every door and trying your key everywhere, we were thinking about having someone just come out and engage you in conversation and like annoy the player like so much with someone who won't shut up. But then we were like, okay, now this is if people want to brute force it, they can brute force it, and fine, also we don't have to have 1,000 unnecessary words localized into 8 languages.
No, I think it's fine if you want to brute force it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
We have this scene here. So this is still all in the first act of the game, so it's not super spoilery, but if you really want to find out why she's tied up and all that stuff, you're gonna have to play it for yourself. This is no longer part of the prologue, so you have to actually buy the game to see this, but yeah, it's out on all platforms now. It's on Steam, GOG, a couple other PC platforms. It's on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. the old and the new Xbox. So I'm just saying all that because we have to go. It's like 1 minute before the end of our slot.
So if you have any other questions,
you have less than 1 minute to have them answered. Oh yeah.
We won't talk that much then. Maybe that's good. I don't know.
Yeah, and also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Digitales_games on Twitter, Digitales Interactive, one word, on Instagram. We're also on Facebook if you're 100 years old and want to like us on Facebook.
You can also follow Assemble.
Also follow Assemble if you're watching this on Twitch.
And also on Twitter.
Yeah, Assemble Entertainment is also on Twitter. And they have a great portfolio. You can see under publisher, Assemble Entertainment, they have a bunch more cool games, some adventure games too.
Some cool adventure games as well.
Yeah, thank you as well. Thank you guys very much for tuning in, for chatting with us. That would have been a bummer if nobody said anything. Yeah. So thanks so much for doing the stream. Much. Continue support team, all the best. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, alrighty, you guys. I will leave this open and hope to see you guys, in the game yourself. And if you already played it, I don't know. Keep an eye out for announcements. All right.
Cool. Nice.
See ya. Bye-bye.